Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Irish Guys Podcast YouTube channel. Um, we've been we were meant to be recording this week. COVID and everything like that has kind of slowed us down a little bit. Vesty's dodging it quite well. We were meant to be recording this week, and I was just haven't got back around it. We took a couple of weeks off for Christmas, and we just haven't got back to it yet. Obviously, we're sort of at the minute we're just an audio only podcast. But we have we were uploading our videos to YouTube, but just because it's sort of audio only, we weren't really getting a lot of sort of interaction or whatever as far as YouTube went. So we and Christopher's fucking laptop kicked the bucket as well. So we haven't really uploaded anything on YouTube for a while. We're still sort of on our other main platforms like Spotify, Podbean, and iHeartRadio, Amazon Music as well. But since we've been kind of stuck with everything that's happening at the minute, there's things that we wanted to cover, and we haven't really got around to. So I sort of thought, fuck it, I'll give this a rattle, which is incredibly awkward, but sure, we'll give it a rattle anyway. Obviously, if anybody is a regular listener to the channel, we do cover sort of our nerd topic stuff, football as well. But one of the big ones that we do at the minute, as it's ongoing, is the NFL. And everybody knows this Wildcard Weekend this weekend. Anybody that is and does follow the NFL, we would have hoped to have been back and recording anyway, this week to sort of get a wee bit of build up in for the Wildcard Weekend and that. But just things haven't really worked out that way. Vesty's having to isolate and stuff, so we haven't really got in and tackled any of the wildcard stuff yet, or any NFL really. So hopefully this kind of goes off without a hitch. Hopefully it gets uploaded. The audio's kind of okay or whatever. I'm literally recording this on my phone, so hopefully it all goes okay anyway. And if I'll throw it up on our Instagram page, and then, well, I suppose if you have come over from then, you'll know already. But I'll throw something up on the Instagram page, and maybe you'll flick over to YouTube and give it a wee rattle if you're an NFL fan. And I was just going to do like a little swift rundown, a little bit of build up for today's games in the NFL. Hopefully if this uploads okay and sounds all right and that, well, I'll give it an hour rattle at it tomorrow for the second round of games on Sunday. There's games on today. Obviously, there's 3 games in the NFL. It's Wildcard Weekend, and as I said, we've sort of been covering this pretty heavily, and we kind of wanted to be in to get it done. But I'll just go for I've just decided to talk a little bit about it. Throw it onto YouTube and see what way it goes. Maybe if these sort of wee informal things maybe do alright or whatever, and maybe keep them up. We do maybe plan in the future to get some sort of recording equipment in, maybe a camera in that into the shed and that, and give it a rattle that way and learn how to edit and stuff. But we'll get there. But for now, this will do, and hopefully it sounds okay in that. I maybe should have tried headphones. That might have worked better. I'll maybe give headphones a rattle tomorrow. But anyway, Wildcard Weekend. So there's 3 games on today. The first one's here at 6 o'clock. It's the 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff time in the States and that. Indy versus Buffalo. I've got a few notes here. Where to start with these two teams? It's going to be a tight matchup, this one. Buffalo have been one of the hottest teams in the NFL all season, really. Sort of Vesty calling it and me not had I give him his £20 for Buffalo winning the division. But Buffalo have been quite good this season. Josh Allen's played fucking fantastic all season, really. But this is an interesting wee matchup. The Bills have been good. Like it's sort of not really what you expect from the Bills, or sort of what you've come to know from the Bills. For a while, they were obviously, even with Josh Allen, they were kind of defense first, a lot of run game, and that was kind of what they established their team on and built on. But this year it's been a little bit different. The Bills have kind of adapted. Their run game hasn't been that tara this year. It hasn't been that great. Josh Allen has been playing out of his skin, slinging the ball all over the field. And he's got a great core of receivers there in Diggs, Beasley and that. But he is coming up against one of the better defenses in the NFL. Indy's defense is kind of good without being great, really. I think it's scheme a lot too. They do like to play a lot of zone. They have men that can get after the quarterback and pressurize him and that. But the Bills' defense, on the other hand, hasn't really been phenomenal this year. They've kind of the one big matchup here is probably the Bills' defense has allowed a lot on the ground this year. It hasn't been great against the run. Ed Oliver hasn't been fantastic against the run. So he's sort of their interior defensive stopper in there, and he hasn't been fantastic against the run. And Indy this last wee while, everybody was sort of waiting on it, especially for fantasy purposes and stuff like that. Everybody was waiting for the sort of Jonathan Taylor breakout. The Colts offensive line is one of the better ones in the league. It maybe just didn't play up to everybody's expectations this year, but Jonathan Taylor and the Colts have really established themselves on the ground this last little while. They've been fantastic. Jonathan Taylor had a massive day in week 17 there. I think it was over 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the Bills' defense hasn't been great against the run, and this last while, Indy have really ran the ball very, very well. So that could be a sort of key matchup as far as this game goes. If the Colts can establish themselves on the ground and sort of run all over this Bills defense. On the other side of the ball, it's a bit different. The Bills have been kind of nuclear this year. Their offense has been running really well. Josh Allen, as I said, has been fantastic and throwing the ball all over the place. And this Indy defense is good. As I said, it's good without being great. There's good players across the board. They run a good scheme, but they haven't. They're a very good defense. They're one of the better defenses in the NFL this year, and it'll be interesting to see what way Josh Allen plays against this zone scheme that they run. Obviously, there's no Vikings matchup coming today. Obviously, Stephon Diggs will be matched up primarily on Xavier Rhodes. So that'll be interesting to watch as a Vikings fan and that. But that'll be an interesting one. It'll be the Bills have a great core of receivers, and Josh Allen has been playing at a very, very good level this year, and it'll be this could be a tight game. This could be a very tight game. It's hard to really pick a winner. It's one of the better. There's good matchups all across the weekend, but Indy versus Buffalo's, it's interesting. I think another massive point in this game is going to be turnovers. Josh Allen's definitely kept the numbers down this year. He hasn't really put the ball in harm's way too much. But Philly Rivers, on the other hand, has been hot and cold. Some weeks he's been very, very good. Some weeks it hasn't looked too great for old Philly Rivers. But turnovers are going to be incredibly important in this game, I think. Can the Colts turn the ball over? Maybe get a pick on Josh Allen, something along those lines, and then can Philly Rivers play a clean game? Really, it's going to be very hard to call in this match. They're two fairly good teams. I wasn't really all that hot on the Colts this year. More so, not too hot on Philip Rivers, and he has to play a clean game this weekend to see for the Colts to have any. He can't turn the ball over 2 or 3 times this weekend. If that happens, you're going to be giving Josh Allen prime real estate there to score touchdowns, and Philly Rivers has to play a good game for them to win this. Obviously, Buffalo's probably favoured. I haven't looked at any of the betting lines actually yet, but the turnover battle will be very important. The turnover battle in any game probably is quite important, but in this game especially, Philly Rivers has to play a clean game, and he has to. To be fair, their receiving corps look better. T.Y. Hilton's made an appearance this last couple of weeks as well. He's been fairly good. So maybe just a more reliable receiver for Philly Rivers in that, but it's going to be a tight one. I would probably still favour the Bills in this one. I would still probably favour the Bills in this one. Indy have been hot and cold. It's hard to know what sort of Indianapolis team's going to turn up this week, but I would probably still favour the Bills in this one anyway. Another sort of small point as far as this game goes is weather. Obviously, this is going to be played in Buffalo. We know that usually around this time of year, Buffalo can be sort of renowned for snow games. I don't think the weather report's bad. It's going to be cold, regardless. It's actually kind of good that this is one of the earlier games, one of the earlier kickoffs, but it's going to be cold in Buffalo. Sometimes that can lead towards more of a ground game. I don't think there's much chance of rain. Maybe if there was, it would definitely lead towards more of a ground game, which would probably favour Indy in all fairness. But weather can be Philly Rivers is now playing in a dome. He played in San Diego for most of his career. Maybe hasn't always been great on the road as far as bad weather goes, and you don't get much worse than Buffalo this time of year. It will be cold, so that could be another one to if it does end up bad weather. I think if it does end up bad weather, it could lean towards more the run game, which could probably favour Indy maybe a little bit. I think that they'll want to establish the run heavy with Jonathan Taylor this week, and really Buffalo kind of, that's kind of where they allow a little bit of work as well. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I think I would still probably favour the Bills, but if the Colts can establish a run, maybe weather comes into it a little bit. It could be a tight game. I'll move on then to the Rams and the Seahawks, which is maybe the matchup of the round. At least today, anyway. I think tomorrow there'll be a few good games as well. Sort of the Titans and the Ravens from last year. That'll be a good one to get back on. But for today anyway, the Rams and Seahawks, an interesting one. Obviously, these are division rivals. They played each other twice this year already. They played 2 weeks ago, and the Seahawks ran out winners 20-9. It was a scrappy enough game. Russell Wilson in the second half of the season hasn't been as electric as he was in the first half. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting. This is going to be a very obviously these teams know each other very, very well, being division rivals and that, and they're both good head coaches. I sort of was a wee bit iffy on Sean McVay when the offense sort of faltered this last wee while, but the Seahawks will probably be favoured in this game. There is a couple of big talking points going into this game. The Rams' defense has been much improved in the second half of the year. They've looked a lot more functional, which is not really what you associate with the Rams, even though they've had Aaron Donald for a number of years now. I suppose the addition of Jalen Ramsey has really helped, and that's probably the biggest matchup of the day. Is going to be Jalen Ramsey and DK Metcalf. In the game 2 weeks ago, Metcalf had 6 receptions for 59 yards. So that's a big one. Like that's obviously Russell's biggest weapon, really. And Ramsey and him have been going at it. It gets pretty physical, that matchup. So yeah, that'll be a big one. Whoever could win that matchup could maybe decide the game, in all fairness. But the Rams' defense has been much improved, and they did cause Russell bother the last time they played. Russell didn't have his best game. As I said, Russell hasn't been as good this second half of the season. I think we touched on it in one of the earlier podcasts that we did. Maybe, I can't remember, it was a while ago now. They all bleed into one. But maybe the Pete Carroll establishing the run thing does help Russell. He is crazy efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over much. Doesn't have to have high passing attempts to put up big numbers. But that's the thing that the Seahawks haven't really done this year. They haven't established the run. I know all about it. I had Chris Carson in the Fantasy League. He wasn't great this year. Obviously, he had injuries as well. And for a very solid and reliable running back and a team that does like to run the ball, they haven't been great at it this year. So, obviously, that matchup's still difficult too. You have Aaron Donald in the middle there, disrupting things. But at the same time, the Seahawks have been poor on the ground. So that will lead to Russell Wilson having to take it through the air. And the Rams have been good. The Rams have been very, very good on defense. The second half of the season, they really kicked on. Like at the start, they weren't really playing incredibly well. They had to go on a bit of a run to get themselves into the playoffs here. And, they eventually get in there. Their defense has been much, much improved. There's a couple of sort of injury concerns this weekend. Big ones, obviously. Jared Goff. They say he's healthy. They say he's going to play. I think it's a thumb injury he had, so this is a big one. Jared Goff didn't play all that well in the matchup a couple of weeks back either, really, as far as the Rams go. But at the same time, having a healthy Jared Goff or having a fit and capable Jared Goff is better than not. John Wolford came in the other week and was quite good on the ground. He could run a little, But they would also, obviously they're going to feel much more comfortable with Goff there. But is he healthy is the question. Obviously it's a hand I'm pretty sure it's a hand injury. So that's another question. Like if Goff comes in and isn't good, do they go to Walford? Which would be an interesting. It would be a big call, obviously, in a playoff game to have to bench your starting quarterback. But they may have to do it. It'll be it's another factor in this game. Like if the Rams defense can cause Russell all the problems in the world, but they need to be able to put up points as well. The Seahawks defense hasn't been fantastic this year. It's been hit and miss. They sort of were waiting for the return of Jamal Adams, but again, going into this game, Jamal is a question on how good he's going to be this weekend. He had a knock as well. I think he's going to play. He sort of was saying that it'll not, there'll be no stopping him playing this weekend anyway. But whether he's fully healthy and whether he's more of a liability being out there because he's not healthy is a completely different scenario. This game's going to be tight, I would imagine. It's very hard to pick a winner in this game too. There's a couple of decent matchups. Obviously, Aaron Donald's going to have to be in Russell Wilson's face all game. He's going to have to really put the pressure on. And that Rams defense is probably going to have to contain the Seahawks offense very, very well to give them a chance in this game. I'm a wee bit worried about Jared Goff and the Rams not being able to put up the points they need to keep them in this game. Obviously, it was 20-9 the last time out, so it was a low-scoring affair. The Rams have caused Russell problems, but he's a great quarterback, and hopefully he can work it out enough to see the Seahawks through. I'll roll with the Seahawks in this one. More so because I'm not entirely comfortable with your starting quarterback being hurt going into a playoff game. Maybe they do have to go to Walford, but at the same time, I'm not the biggest fan of Jared Goff, but at the same time, it's better having him than not. And as I said, the Rams defense can cause all the problems they want to Russell Wilson. But if they can't put up points on the board on the other side, and it's not going to make much of a difference. So I think I'll roll with the Seahawks in that one. But you see, every one of these picks will be wrong, and I'll get laughed at tomorrow. But sure, that's what we're doing here. Last game of the night, prime time tonight anyway, is maybe the easiest to call of the weekend, or so you would think anyway, is Tampa and Washington. Obviously Brady and the Buccaneers, even before the season started with all the weapons that he had, teams were tipping them to maybe have a chance at running the Super Bowl or at least a deep playoff run. And Washington has been in the NFC East, which we've repeatedly shit on in the podcast. But fair play, they won the division, and it's not going to be an easy game for Tampa. I think it's got the biggest spread as far as the betting odds have gone so far. Tampa are good. It's going to be very hard to bet against Brady in this situation. The only thing is that Washington do have a great front seven. Ron Rivera is a good head coach. He's been in these positions before. He knows what he wants. Obviously, there's a Chase Young thing. He's been calling that he wants Brady, and stuff like that. So that'll be a fun matchup, if nothing else. The only way that Washington can win this game conceivably is that the front seven gets pressure on Brady, and the Bucs offensive line's been good but not great. So they can. This is a dominant front seven, obviously, for the Washington football team. But they're going to have to play out of their skin. They're going to have to play absolutely fantastic. As I think that the sort of saying goes, as far as even back when the New York Giants played the Patriots in the couple of Super Bowls, is that you have to get pressure on Brady up the middle, basically, not to rush around him and go deep with your rushes. You have to pressure up the middle and in his face. So I'm assuming that Ron Rivera's a great coach. He'll know that sort of stuff, and he does have the front seven to do it. Harry Brady a little bit, and get pressure on him. This Washington team's also gonna have to create turnovers, I would imagine, in this game. I don't think that Washington, without a turnover in this game, can beat the Bucs straight up, and that's probably more to do with the Washington offense. Now I heard a stat earlier that Washington are 5-1 when Alex Smith plays this year, so that's promising. But it's not like Alex Smith has been lighting the league apart either. He's just been a competent quarterback, which is what he is, or a more competent quarterback at least anyway than Haskins and that. So Washington are going to have to play a clean game. Alex Smith's going to have to play a clean game and not turn the ball over. He's very good at that, to be fair. He's an experienced quarterback, and he's going to have to play as clean as a whistle game as he possibly can, not turn the ball over at all. And then Washington's defense are going to have to create turnovers. They might even have to, get a score in to try and win this game. Brady and that Tampa Bay offense are potent. Obviously, they've still got injury concerns with the likes of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin had a hand thing a few weeks ago. Evans apparently is going to play. Whether you have a fully fit and healthy Mike Evans is another thing. Maybe they just throw him in for red zone action. That's where he plays his best stuff anyway. Antonio Brown's been better this last few weeks too. Also, they haven't ran the ball as well recently, the Bucs offense. But Antonio Brown's been quite good this last little while. He's been playing himself into a bit of form. Godwin's been okay, but again, this is a Tom Brady led offense. There probably will be scores, so that's why I say that Washington are probably. They're gonna have to. I think their defense might have to create a turnover in a very advantageous position, or maybe get one themselves to keep them in this game. If the football team have to chase this game and Alex Smith has to take a few more risks, I would imagine that this game will be one-sided and Tampa Bay come away with a win. Yeah, create turnovers. Yeah, I would imagine they're gonna have to create turnovers. They're gonna, their strip sack of Brady or an interception or pressure him up the middle and he throws a bad pass, something along those lines. They're gonna have to put their offense in positions to score, because I'm not entirely sure that this Washington offense is gonna be able to move the ball on the Bucs defense as well. The Bucs defense is decent too. It went through a wee bit of a blip mid-season. But the Bucs defense is good too, and they're going to create their own pressure and cause their own problems for the football team's offense. So, yeah, they're going to have to create turnovers to come out of this game. I think I'm pretty confident in calling that I would bet heavily on Tampa winning this game. So I think I'm going to go with Buffalo, probably the Seahawks, and probably Tampa Bay as far as games go today anyway. It was just a short little video. We wanted to do something, put something out. Maybe Vesti will do one of these. We'll see what happens. Although internet issues, so highly doubtful. Maybe Big Crippy will maybe get something done maybe for football. If these go well, maybe the audio is a wee bit funky. It could be a wee bit echoey in here. I might try it with headphones tomorrow. Now that I think about it, it might be a little bit better, a wee bit clearer anyway. But we might be stuck for a week or two. As far as recording podcasts and that, especially with the lockdown and all that sort of carry on too. So I might do a few more of these. I'm going to try and tackle an R1 tomorrow for the Sunday games, and then if they do okay, we'll maybe keep uploading them. We haven't, as I said at the start, we haven't really uploaded on our YouTube channel in a few months. We've been we didn't get much back off uploading on YouTube, just because we only put up audio, and obviously most people go to YouTube for video content as well. We'll hopefully get there in the future, and stuff like that there. So hopefully it sounds okay. We'll give it a test run on that. I'll maybe try and improve on it tomorrow and see what way we go. But hopefully we'll be back shortly and recording. If you're a regular listener on the podcast, on the sort of podcast streaming sites, flick over, give it a wee look on YouTube. If they go well, we'll maybe keep doing them every now and then, just to put our faces in front of the camera for a bit and see what the crack is. But that's pretty much it. I'll be back tomorrow at sort of maybe a wee bit of an earlier time, and I'll throw out one for the other 3 games on Sunday. So thanks everybody for listening and tuning in. As I said, we hopefully will be back shortly, and Vesti doesn't get COVID or nothing, and we'll hopefully be back shortly to get back in and recording the podcast and getting them up. But for now, this might be us for a wee while anyway. But we'll bit of crack, and sure, see what way it turns out, and if we get any positive stuff back, or get a few more views or whatever on YouTube and stuff like that there. So hopefully it all turns out alright and it uploads okay. I haven't done that yet either. That's usually was Christopher's job, But aye, so hopefully I uploaded okay and everyone sounds alright. But aye, thanks very much for listening, folks, and thanks for tuning in and all that. But I'll get out of here. Cheers.